What's going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about. You're not going to want to miss this, so let's get straight into it. So, we have elections coming up November 5th, and I want to talk about the possibility of a rally. Okay, I see everyone talking about it. I see your favorite YouTubers, Twitter, Reddit, everyone's talking about the potential of a rally back to the upside. And it's clear when I say this that whatever rally we do get, I don't think it's going to lead into all time highs or newer highs or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a simple liquidity grab. What do I mean by that? So we're looking at the triple Q's daily time frame, and we are still playing out this rising wedge. You guys know we've been talking about this for some time, but if you're new to the channel, you should know that rising wedge patterns are very, very strong bearish patterns. You rejected here, you rejected here, you rejected here, you bounced here, and then you finally broke below the rising wedge, therefore confirming that this is a rising wedge pattern. But what's very interesting is how we closed out on Friday. We closed out on a bullish pattern. We closed out on an inverted hammer pattern. I encourage you to educate yourself and look up what an inverted hammer pattern is. But if you need somewhat of an example right now, here is a good example of what an inverted hammer pattern will look like. You see, they're pretty much essentially the same thing, and you typically get some type of bullish momentum back to the upside. Now, it doesn't always have to play out like this, but we have to assume that if this is an inverted hammer pattern, that we could potentially see some upside heading into elections. Now, in regards to that upside, what are we looking at? So here's something I want you guys to pretty much learn if you don't know this already. Let's go to the 4 hour time frame. So anytime, okay, anytime, I want you guys to focus on this area right here. Okay, right here. So let's get rid of this so we can really focus on this. So this whole area right here. So anytime the market rallies to the downside or to the upside, whatever direction, no matter if you're a perma bull, perma bear, or neutral, typically what happens is you leave this huge void. Okay, you leave this void open. And what do I mean by void? Anytime the market goes down or like straight down or straight up, you leave this void open that has no structure. And as you guys can see, again, we're looking at the 4 hour time frame. There's no structure here. There's just nothing but downwards movement. And so I think a good example of this, and ironically, is right here. Right here, you guys see it here, right? So we can actually just go into replay mode real quick. And so right here, you have this void open, right in this area right here, this huge void open, right? And typically what happens within the next, few days or a week or so, you end up filling this void, or the market ends up wanting to refill this void and pretty much clear it out. And this is typically what traders call a liquidity grab. You guys hear me say it a lot of times where I will say, hey, this area is very illiquid. If we hit this area, then we're going to drop very fast or we're going to go up very fast depending on direction. And so you guys see it here where you feel, well, you want to fill this void. Okay, anytime you leave voids like this open where there's no structure, typically the market wants to refill this area, clear this area out. And as you guys can see, that's pretty much what happened. And so that's what I'm expecting to happen sometime this week within this area as well, where let's actually exit replay mode real quick, where we head back to this area and pretty much clear this area out before we see another move to the downside. So just to be clear, I don't think whatever rally we do get, I don't think it's going to lead to new highs or all-time highs or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a quick liquidity grab and then we're heading back down. Okay. Now I could be wrong. If we do see all-time highs, I guess we can see 505, between 505 510. That is pretty much the top of this rising wedge pattern, between 503 505, somewhere around that range. But me, I'm just not counting on it. I would say at least 496 is what we can see on the triple Qs. Now, I want to make something clear here. Another thing clear here is that tomorrow, heading into Monday, I do think we're going to see a little bit more downside. I do. Um, I wouldn't be surprised this leads into a double bottom. It's just very clean. So I will watch the 485, 484 range. We head here back to this area down here, about 484, 485. I would really watch this area here for a potential bounce. And then we form some type of double bottom. You see the neckline will be at around, what is this, 490. You form this neckline at 490, or you already formed this neckline at 490. You break above this neckline, and then you can start heading towards this area here and pretty much liquidate this area. I said liquidate, liquidate this area right here and pretty much clear this void out, right? So that's what I'm looking at in regards to what could happen tomorrow. So I think any downside we do get tomorrow, it could potentially lead into some type of bear trap. And then whatever upside or rally we do get heading into elections or even Jerome Powell is going to lead into somewhat of a bull trap. So I don't think we're quite done playing out this rising wedge. I think we have a lot more downside to go. So I do think that any upside we do get is going to be very short lived. And so we're back on the daily time frame, and you see it here. We have this gap all the way to 496 that needs to be filled. Once we hit this gap, I think that's pretty much when the rally is going to be over, and then we're going to see more downside. So again, anytime the market has like straight downwards movement, something like this, eventually you want to head back up here and pretty much clear this area out. It can take a few days, it could take a few weeks, it could take months, it doesn't matter. But as you guys can see, even right here, back here, you have this huge drop to the downside, and then you have this huge movement to the upside. And as you guys can see, there's no real structure here. So eventually you have to clear this area out, right? And so what happens? You do exactly that. You clear this area out and look how fast you're just moving. Look how big these candles are to the downside, right? And then you keep doing it over and over. You just keep leaving these huge gaps and huge voids open until eventually the market gets back or the triple Qs gets back into this area right here, and it took its time. I mean, look how long it took for it to get right back up here and pretty much clear this area up here. This huge liquid area just got left open, and then eventually the queues had to come back up here and pretty much clear this out. And so I imagine the same thing is gonna happen right here. It just looks better on the 4 hour time frame, but I do imagine the same thing is gonna happen within this area right here, where eventually we're gonna head back to this area and pretty much clear this out before we see another move or another a more bigger move to the downside. And right now, I'm looking at a move towards about 477, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. And so we look at the SPY, and SPY is pretty much the same thing. Let's go to the daily time frame real quick. SPY, we're looking at somewhat of the same thing. We have somewhat of a reversal pattern, somewhat of a hammer patterns. So this could be a sign that we could see upside maybe tomorrow evening. I don't think it's going to happen in the morning. But if we do get more downside, I do think the SPY is going to head towards 568, 565 range. And then from there, we could look at a potential bounce. I don't see us just constantly dropping all through elections. I just don't think that's going to happen. I do think we're going to, I think it goes without saying, I think um, any decent trader will realize that it wouldn't make sense for us to continuously drop unless we're looking at a crash all through elections. That would be crazy. So I do think we're going to get some type of dead cat bounce, some type of relief rally back to the upside. See something like this, fill this gap up all the way at 580, and then after that we start looking at more downside from there. So that's what I'm looking at. So any downside we do get tomorrow, I'm looking at a move towards 568, 565, and then from there I'm looking at somewhat of a bounce from that area. So that way we can start, pretty much clearing out this void right here. Let's make it look like, yeah, something like this. So this whole area just needs to be cleared out. There's no structure here, so it needs to be it needs to be cleared out. Okay, plain and simple. I think I got the point across. Let's look at the NQ real quick. I'm not going to go over the ES, but I want to look at the NQ because the NQ just looks very interesting right here, and it's essentially the same as the triple Qs, right? But even on the NQ, you see it here. You a inverted hammer pattern, right? Again, very bullish pattern. And right now you're below 20,212. So once triple Q, not triple Q's, NQ reclaims 20,000 to 12, I think that's the sign that you're going to see more upside. You're going to start seeing that relief bounce, and then that rally, and then you start seeing these areas pretty much get cleared out or get liquidated. I mean, right here, you see it clear as day. Let's actually clear these levels out. And so after, I just want to make it clear real quick. After 20,200, you're looking at a move to 20,400. And then after that, you're looking at a move, obviously, to 20,500 psych level. But right here, I mean, right here, just this whole area, this needs to get cleared. Okay, this this needs to get liquidated very, very fast. Okay, because I can't imagine the market is going to leave this open very long. I just don't think so. At least a good portion of it should get wiped out before we start seeing more downside. So that's where I'm looking at in regards to the NQ. The daily time frame, again, you have you an inverted hammer pattern. Um, if you do see more downside, I will take it very lightly until we get a daily close below this rising wedge. So it's very interesting. The triple Qs, and this is what's really interesting, right? The triple Qs has broken its rising wedge pattern. I mean, you see it right here. Well, let's go back to it. I mean, I didn't force it. I didn't make it up or anything. Let's get rid of that. You broke below the rising wedge on the triple Qs, but the NQ's rising wedge, you're still within its pattern. So this is why it's important. I always, preach to you guys that you want to look at both futures and triple Qs. I know a lot of traders don't like looking at both, but this is how you can determine whether you're looking at a bull trap or a bear trap within the market or whatever sector you're looking at. And so we're still within the rising wedge on the NQ, which leads me to believe that the triple Qs, if you are the type of trader that only looks at the triple Qs, you might be looking at a bear trap right here. Okay. And it may see more downside. You may get an opportunity to get out, but I will really take the NQ seriously and where it's at. You have an inverted hammer pattern right at the bottom of the rising wedge that shows signs that we could see more upside from here. Okay. And we can pretty much liquidate this area before we see another move downwards. So if you do see more downside tomorrow morning, which I do think is going to be the case, I will really take that opportunity to pretty much take profit on whatever trades I'm in. That's just me. Do what you want with that information. So again, NQ within this rising wedge still, triple Qs is outside of his rising wedge. I think one is telling you that a trap, one or the other is telling you that a trap is pretty much inbound. So that's what I'm looking at in regards to NQ. And so I want to talk about what's interesting about our Discord bot here. So the Discord bot pretty much alerted a VIX call, not a VIX call, a VIX put, right? So he's right. So here is one of the calls that's currently playing out. So this was alerted October 23rd. Okay, this was alerted October 23rd when the VIX was like at 18 or 19 dollars. I could be wrong on the price, but regardless, the VIX was much lower than 25. We haven't seen 25 in quite a while until the VIX hit like 60 or something, right? And so right now, that's where the VIX is heading. It looks like the VIX is heading towards 25. So this is another reason why I think the VIX or the market has a little bit more downside before we see upside. Because right now, the VIX is I want to say the VIX is around 23. So let's actually look at the VIX real quick. Oh, so the VIX is at like 21. So I do think we have a little bit more downside across the market. So whatever move we do get, I mean, this right here, is so clean and so obvious. I mean, maybe a little too obvious. You have this right here, and then you have this right here. And then you hit this wall right here at around, I want to say 23.5. So the VIX is trying to push higher. It is obvious it wants to push higher. So I would really, really be careful here. So this is why I say any upside you do get, I don't think it's going to last long. I don't. I think it's going to be a quick liquidity grab. And I mean, if this doesn't tell you anything, I don't know what will. If this doesn't, is this is not a clear sign that the VIX is trying to break higher, which if you don't know, the VIX does the opposite of the market and the market does the opposite of the VIX. If this isn't a clear sign, I don't know what will convince you. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at in regards to the VIX. You have this AI, you have our AI bot alerting that a whale has done a 25 strike call for November 20th, and so far it's playing out. Now, mind you, again, that was alerted October 20, no, October 23rd. And so what's interesting here is that we also had puts come in October 30th for the VIX. And if you want access to our Discord bots and our AI bots, they alert trades from the whales, what the whales are doing, what the big guys are doing. And we pretty much, you can pretty much trade off those trades or, do your own thing, trade it how you want, use it as confirmation, however you like. But if you want access to that, Discord link is in the description below. So this VIX put right here, you had a VIX put come in last, I want to say, what was that? Thursday? Thursday, Friday, whatever. Regardless, you had one come in October 30th. And you have a put for the $18 strike price, November 20th expiration, and then you have your premium, your volume, all that fun stuff. So again, this is why I think there is a rally that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to last long. Okay, so that's very interesting. So we have $25 call that hasn't played out completely yet. We hit like 23 on the VIX. I would say close enough. And then you have $18 puts that could lead to possible rally, right? So really pay attention to the VIX, pay attention to the market, and if this confirms or plays out, I really suggest that you take an interest into our Discord because these bots are extremely accurate. I mean, it's insane how accurate they are. So definitely pay attention to that. Pay attention to VIX. So that's another reason why I think we could be looking at a rally. Or an incoming rally, but I don't think it's going to be some all-time high type of rally. And so I want to look at Apple real quick. And so Apple is showing the same thing. Very interesting. Apple is showing an inverted hammer pattern as well. I mean, boom, right here. Now we zoom out. Got to do a lot of zooming out here. Okay, so we zoom out, and I mean, look what we've been doing. We've been trading within this range right here, and then Apple finally breaks below it. Now, again, I think I mentioned this in the last video that or maybe a few videos ago that if Apple blesses you with a move back to 230, 233, me personally, do what you want with this information. It's not financial advice. Me personally, I'm going to be looking for puts. Okay. If Apple gets back up here and just clears this area out, we talked about this on the triple Qs, we talked about this on the NQ, just really liquidate this area. Okay, just clear this area out, clear this void out. If Apple gets back up here around, I would say between 230 and 233, I'm going to be looking for puts. I think Apple is going to head towards 214, if not lower. Um, and yeah, so again, whatever upside we do get, going to be short lived in my opinion. So this is what I think is going to happen if we do get upside. Boom, and then boom. Okay, simple as that. So we do have an inverted hammer pattern forming on Apple as well. And so I want to look at NVIDIA real quick, and then we're gonna get up out of here. So, NVIDIA had like amazing news, and it was interesting because a lot of calls came in towards close on the options chain in regards to NVIDIA. It was like 1 minute before close. It was almost impossible to get in on the trade. But Nvidia did like a $4 jump after hours because I guess it's heading to the Dow Jones or switching over to the Dow Jones, and I think it's replacing Intel, which is pretty bad for Intel. So yeah, very interesting here. So Nvidia had this reversal pattern form towards the end of the day, so that just shows you just how powerful these patterns are. It had this inverted hammer pattern form towards the end of the day, and then it skips or jumps about $4 or $5 after hours because of that news. That news hit like after hours, which is crazy, right? And so it hit about $39, so it's right above this resistance at around 138.5. And so at this point, I think Nvidia is going to head back towards 144, 144, 150. It does have the potential. It still has the potential to head towards 150. We talked about this for some time now. That Nvidia, I do have a price target for Nvidia in regards to the price heading towards 150, 155, somewhere around there, right on top of this pattern. And then once that happens, if this happens, yeah, I think the market is pretty much cooked from that point. So we'll see. I always told you guys that I think Nvidia is going to head to 150. I just didn't know how it would get there. So that's really all I have. Bitcoin, as long as Bitcoin is below 69K, it's pretty bearish in my opinion. And then I think it's just going to head towards 64K. US 100, I mean, same thing, broke below this rising wedge pattern. You're pretty much retesting it. You have an inverted hammer pattern. You need to liquidate this area all the way towards 20,300, 20,400 range, and then your chances are you're heading back down. So that's all I have for this upcoming week, guys. We have elections coming up. Don't be surprised if it rally to the upside. I think it's I don't think it should be a surprise that we do see a rally, but I wouldn't trust it. Simple as that. I think it's going to lead into a bull trap, and yeah, we're cooked from there. Okay, so we'll see. Other than that, that's all I have. Discord link is in the description below if you want to see how I'm going to trade this week or how we're going to trade this week. And yeah, that's all I have. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.